Welcome back to CF Tesla, and congratulations to all of you who have recently got the full self-drive beta and joined the program. Now, I've gotten a lot of requests from many of you saying, can you put together some kind of a guide that helps us understand how to do the basic steps of full self-drive, what to expect, and really just how to get around the whole thing. So this guide is to give you the basics of understanding everything. If you want more information than I'm going to cover here today, you can request it down in the comments and we can do a much deeper dive later in another video. So here's what we're going to cover in this video. First of all, how do you know if you actually received it or not? It may seem kind of basic, but sometimes you don't know. How do you actually engage it in your car, turn it on? How do software updates work with full self-drive? What are some of the warnings and things to be aware of? And then what are some of the big changes that you need to be aware of? And how do you actually engage and change all the settings inside of your car to get the most out of the full self-drive experience? And then finally, how can you help the full self-drive beta system become better? So first off, how do you know if you actually got it? So this is a little different for a lot of people. For me, when I got it, I knew I got it because of the app right away. On my app, it said you have a software update, and I knew that that was the update that the full self-drive came. About 60 minutes exactly after I got the notice on my app, I got the email from Tesla, and that email highlights it, and I'll put it up here on the screen, that's telling me, hey, you've got this new software update, you've been invited into the program, you need to go in and accept it, and then there's some instructions in there. So if you got an email that looks like this, then you've been accepted into the program. Also, you should expect your safety score to go away. So if it went away, that may be another indicator that you were accepted into the program. I believe at this point, it's anyone with a 95 or higher. I do know some people who have a 95 lost the app, the safety score in the app, but did not get the beta. So it's not 100% that you're going to get it, but that is generally an indicator to go and look. Now let's talk about how to turn it on in your car and how that process works. So if you've gotten the email or the notification on the app, what you're going to do is you're going to go into your car and go into your settings. Typically, people think you go down to software because that's generally where all your software information is to request the full self-drive beta, but it's actually under autopilot. You'll see a brand new section on the top of your autopilot settings that says request full self-driving beta. So this is some footage from when it was 2 a.m. in the morning when I accepted into the beta program. So next you're going to click on that big button. A pop-up's going to come up with all the disclosures you need to sign, or I guess check the checkbox for, and then follow up by hitting accept. So the three things you're going to consent to are, you're consenting to the collection and review of ongoing VIN-associated vehicle driving while enrolled. You accept that while using the full self-drive beta, that you are responsible for all the alerts and keeping your hands on the wheel, and that you must be prepared to take action at any time. And I can't stress how important that is, anytime. And Tesla says right in there, this does not make your car autonomous. And then you also accept that they can revoke this from you at any time. So if you accept all those things, then go down, check the boxes, and hit accept. Now, if you decide you don't want to be a part of this program later, you can come back in here and opt out. However, I did not click on the opt out just to show you guys what happens. So I don't know if you can get back in after you opt out, but my suspicion is that you can't. If you've done this and you know the answer, please help us out. Go down below in the description or in the comments below this video and post that answer. Okay, now that you've been accepted into the program, you got to go into your settings and actually turn it on. Still under your autopilot settings, you'll see a new toggle switch that says full self-driving and then under brackets, beta. You're going to want to turn that on. Then you're going to want to go down another 4 toggles to the one that says full self-driving visualizations. Also turn that one on. And that's it. You are now fully ready to go with full self-drive beta. We're going to go out to the car in a minute and go through all the settings, but first, let's talk about some of the things you need to be aware of and some warnings I want to give you guys as someone who's been running and been a beta tester for over a year and a half. The first thing is you got to be more alert than you ever have been before in any other version of autopilot or auto steer or navigate in autopilot, whatever you want to call it. Back then, that was like laying in a hammock, gravy train compared to the alertness you need to be now. Now, I'm not saying that full self-drive beta is more dangerous. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your car is now doing a ton more tasks than it used to before. It is now reading through so many new experiences and situations than it was before. So where before you only had to be aware just driving down the road where not a lot happened, now the car is making so many different turns, decisions, lane changes, and it's up to you to be fully alert and ready because there's going to be times, sometimes in every drive, at least every other drive, where you're going to have to be like, okay, let me take the wheel, take control there, report that. You're part of the beta system. Never forget that it is in beta. Okay, so you're going to be way more alert. So both hands on the wheel, okay, not one hand relaxed, both hands on the wheel. Just, again, I'm not trying to scare you necessarily. I'm just saying, be very alert. Take the warnings from Tesla very seriously that you need to be very alert while using the beta. So some examples of this would be the car sometimes wants to go around other cars at a stoplight when it shouldn't do that. So you have to kind of correct that. It thinks it can pass the car or something, okay? It's not doing anything necessarily dangerous. It's just not right. There's been multiple instances where I've had it kind of turn into the oncoming traffic to pass a car that it shouldn't be passing, which again, I don't know how I feel about that, but just you got to be aware. The other thing is that it's not predictable. You can drive 30 miles with absolutely no engage or disengagements, and you can be like, wow, this is amazing. Then you can find yourself on the exact same similar road 30 miles later, and all of a sudden it does something totally out of the normal. So don't get relaxed, don't get complacent. As long as full self-drive is engaged, make sure your hands are on the wheel where you can feel it, you're putting torque on the wheel, and you'll be ready no matter what happens. Don't think just because at one point that road, it didn't have an issue, that this time it's also not going to. It very well could. So now let's talk about how you could lose this. Now, Tesla makes it very clear that if you get a certain number of strikes, I believe it's 3, it might be 5. I'm not sure exactly what it is at this point. I should probably look. But let's just go on the assumption that it's 3, that they will remove it from you. And then I don't think you get it back. I'm not sure how that happens, but there's no need to get a strike against you, because here's how it works. The biggest reason for getting a strike against you is because you let the car disengage itself. So that means that the red steering wheel popped up or the blue was flashing at you and you just simply did nothing to the point where it eventually had to disengage. Now, if the red steering wheel pops up, that's not a reason for you to get a knock against your full self-drive score or record, okay? That's not counted as one of the 3. I probably get that twice per drive because I'm constantly letting the car go to extremes to test the boundaries of what it's capable of. They're looking for you to not be paying attention. That's what that's all about. So using your phone, not putting your hand on the wheel, not paying attention, those are the things that are going to get you dinged. But if your hands are always on the wheel and then the car just does something sketchy, which causes the red wheel and all that to go on, well, that's not on you. That's on the car. That's great. That's what the purpose of us as beta testers are there for. Just disengage it yourself, flick up the right gear stock, grab the wheel, hit the brake, whatever you got to do, take back control, and then re-engage it again when you're ready. Obviously, when that happens, it's very important that you hit that little camera in the top right corner, little video camera, not the picture-looking thing that we used to have, but the video camera that's going to send that back to Tesla, thus helping out the beta system. Probably the number one reason why you're going to get dinged is if your hands are not on the wheel. I mean, we all know it's been like this forever. If you don't touch the wheel, you'll get notifications multiple times. The blue will be flashing on your screen, and eventually the car will just shut down, and you will not be able to re-engage autopilot in any form until the car's been in park and then re-engaged again. That's what Tesla is talking about to get one of those dings against you. Now, I know you're going to be writing right now in the comments, some of you guys going, that's not true. I've got the red steering wheel and I looked on my settings and I've gotten dinged for it. I don't know what to say about that. There are some cases where people are getting dinged for that. But you guys watch my channel. I mean, I do drives all the time. I'm getting red steering wheels all the time. I have no dings. I've never gotten a ding on mine. I don't know if maybe there's something weird in your settings or your system's got an error in it or what, but you should not get it because the car screwed up. You should only get dinged because you did and you weren't paying attention. You'll also notice that if you do pick up your phone, you will start getting notices on your screen telling you to pay attention to the road. Okay, things that didn't happen before like that. So even to the point where I have my phone up doing a quick, reel for Instagram or something, I'll be up like 3-4 seconds and bam, just like that, I'm getting notified on my screen, which, you get too many of those, you're gonna get a knock against you as well. So you don't wanna do that. And I quit doing that after twice and I realized what was going on. Just leave your phone down. When you take on the responsibility of a beta tester, you're kind of saying, I'm going to be a model student, and we need you to be a model student. Now let's head out to the car, let's go through the menu, go through the settings, talk about the changes on your screen that have happened, and then we'll talk about how exactly you can help the autopilot system. All right, now let's get in here and start talking about the settings first, then we're going to go and talk about the changes to the actual screen itself. So most of the settings we're going to be dealing with right now are found under autopilot. navigate and autopilot settings are right here. Customize, navigate, and autopilot settings. When you click on that, this is what you're used to seeing. You got your speed-based lane changes. The things you need to remember here about this is that this does not in any way mess with the full self-drive lane changes and things of that nature. This is only navigate and autopilot. So this is still only being applied to when you're on a freeway or highway, how fast it changes lanes and what happens in navigate and autopilot. Remember, that's a different system. I believe Triple Stack's gonna combine these all together at some point, but right now they're all separate. So the full self-driving settings are actually outside of a button right here on the screen. The first one that you've enabled is the full self-driving beta. You switch that switch on. We just talked about that in a minute ago. But underneath of that, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the hits against you. And it actually is 5, as it says here, not 3. So if autopilot disables 5 times due to improper use, full self-drive beta will no longer operate. This vehicle has not had any such events. So if you have events where it has gone against you, this is where it will tell you right here, okay? And this is where I'm saying I've never had any events, and the whole time I've been doing this, because my hands have always been here on the wheel, and I ride like this in full self-drive. I have my hands under the wheel and I kind of have the pressure on it like this. You could also kind of put your hand right here and just kind of hold some pressure like that. The main thing is if you go down here, you're going to just constantly have to continue to put torque as it tells you to. But if you go a little bit higher on the wheel and you're actually putting some pressure on it, it won't disengage it, but it'll be enough that it'll keep the warnings off your screen in most cases. But the beta program works a lot like Navigate and Autopilot or just regular auto steer, in that if you're going through a situation that's a bit more hairy, it will ask you to put some pressure on the wheel to just confirm you're paying attention and that you're okay with what it's doing. Even if you had just put pressure on it 5 seconds ago, it'll still ask you to do that. So that hasn't changed. Now, the full self-driving beta profile, this is where you're going to have control over what the full self-drive system does. I would recommend starting out with chill. Okay, once you've done that for a while, move over then to average, and then even go to assertive if you want to. But here's what happens when you go over to assertive. Assertive, the car is going to do everything in its power to get to the destination, to the point where it's kind of awkward. It does things like not exit passing lanes. It is a lot more lane changing. And this is where I run into problems with driving down regular city streets, where I'm in a one lane only, a one direction. There'll be a turn lane at a stoplight, and the car will try to jump into that turn lane to pass the guy who stopped at the stoplight in front of me. That kind of stuff happens on assertive. It doesn't happen on average or chill. So just know you're getting into that when you go over to the assertive side. And when it does stuff like that, you got to realize what it's doing. What it's trying to tell you is, hey, I see a lane over there. I'm going to try to get around this car. It doesn't know it's a turn lane until it gets, half in the lane. Then it realizes, oops, that's actually a turn lane. And then it's going to try to get back over. You're going to think the car is messing up. But the reality is, it's just operating with what it can see and what it knows. It's actually not doing anything wrong. It's like you sticking your head out the window and looking, or you turning into a lane to take a look at it and then going, nope, I want to turn it back. It seems like it's doing something wrong, but that happens on assertive because you're telling the car, I want you to make those kind of advances. So if you don't want that, if you don't want to deal with that, certainly chill won't. Average is hit and miss, but mostly not. Obviously have the rest of your regular toggles on. That's going to be totally okay. All these other settings don't have anything to do with full self-drive. So there's no need to come by here and look at all of this stuff. None of these changes in here have anything at all to do with it. So it's just those 2 sections up there that have anything to do with the actual full self-driving system. Just the turning the toggle on, the visualizations, and then your profile. Now, you also need to be aware that you need to have your data sharing all enabled. You need to have hit yes to all of these in here as well. You can kind of come in here and double check, make sure that they're all there, and you just hit submit at the end. You might have already done this. I don't know if this is actually specifically linked to full self-drive itself, because I know it is talking about autopilot and all this other stuff. But just make sure that those are all enabled. And then also your camera here above your mirror, you can't cover that. If you cover that, you're not going to be able to use the Navigate and Autopilot either. And this is probably not new news to you guys, but you can see your release notes by coming here into software, going to release notes, and you can see here all the notes for that full self-drive beta. Just keep in mind that this can be a little bit confusing sometimes because they don't always only tell you what was in this update. Each time you get a new software update, which,
or what's happening here. Each time you get a software update, you're going to have a lot of the disclosures in there that were there last time, the visualization alerts that were there last time. There's generally only 1 or 2 tabs that are actually new, where it looks like there's a lot of new things, but it's generally only one I would show you, except my car is doing something strange. And with the latest update, it's actually been that way. I've had to actually go in and reset my computer a few different times because it's frozen. So you deal with some of that stuff over here with it. And of course, if you do end up needing to reset your screen, you can just hold down both of these scroll wheels on your steering wheel. It does not matter if you're driving or not. It makes no effect. This is just a display. So you don't worry about that. You can be driving, hold it down, the car will still drive just the same. And when screen goes black, then let go of the scroll wheels. It'll be weird. You'll think there's something going wrong. It'll activate your voice control and different things like that. Maybe it'll adjust your volume. Just keep holding on, and eventually the screen will reset itself. So after a reset, you can see that now I have my actual, software update notes. And so the first one here, again, shows up every time. It's just talking about the suspension and, what happens with that suspension if you're caught 5 times. Then you have the actual release notes, where it's going to go through the actual changes of what's happening in here, okay? So this is where you're going to actually learn about the latest update. So the one that says release notes is what you're looking for. So now there's not a whole lot that's new on the screen in terms of talk about that's different than what you're used to. But one of the biggest things is the ability to go full screen here. So if you put your finger right here on the side, in fact, if you spin here, it's not going to make that change. But you put your finger right here and you pull, you get a full screen view, which is just too cool. And the other thing that's different about this full self-drive preview here versus the regular autopilot is how fast the animation snaps back. So for example, if I were to slide this over here and let go, it shoots back instantly, whereas on the navigated autopilot, as well as just your regular auto steer non-full self-drive package folk, it's a lot slower animation. So you also see the cars are much better graphics. You actually got depth to the cars. You have more cars. You got vans and SUVs on here now. You're picking up cars and people way further off the road. You're seeing just way more information on the screen. And then of course you have tinted dark windows. You got dark wheels, and you actually have some dimension to your vehicle, which is really nice. So. But overall, though, it's basically the same. You just have the ability to drag it over, and then the visualizations are obviously just different. They're just much, much better.
All right, now to wrap this up, let's talk about how you can help autopilot. Now, we've already covered majority of this. I'm just going to touch on that. First of all, anytime you're a little iffy about something the car did, even if you think, well, this is probably weird, they probably don't want to even know about this, just go and report it to Tesla. Just do it, okay? Go up there, hit the little camera, send it into Tesla. The more, the better. Next, don't be one of these idiots that post pictures of you doing something against what Tesla tells you is okay right now. Don't take your hand off the wheel. Don't put weight on the wheel. Don't go bragging your friends that you can drive around town without any, having any hands on the wheel, stuff like that. All that kind of stuff gets around and it makes it look bad, when the reality is Tesla never said that was okay, and it only hurts us who spent so much money for all this stuff being able to get this stuff faster. So help everybody out. Do exactly as Tesla asks us to do. Hands always on the wheel, even if it's just barely resting. You don't have to have your hands clamping it. If you want to kind of show how great it is, you just have to have your hands just touching the wheel, just kind of feeling the wheel, putting a little bit of torque now and then, but your hands right ready. That's all you have to do. It's not some crazy hard thing that Tesla's asking of us right now. We do have the cameras in the car. I would imagine fairly soon we're going to be able to do this without touching the wheel at all. I'm looking forward to that, like Ford's Blue Cruise. I would imagine that's coming fairly soon, but right now let's just follow the rules while they're there. We got to always remember that there are so many haters and people that want Tesla to fail, people that call this level 1 autonomy and that it's pieces of junk. And it's up to us beta testers who are in the public, the people who are watching, to make sure that we're portraying this exactly accurately as it is. So keeping our hands on the wheel, being responsible with this amazing program that we've been given. I shouldn't say given, we paid for a lot. I mean, I only paid 6. Many of you paid 12 or are paying the subscription. Trust me, we've earned this. I mean, finally, right? And it's like, man, I'm so glad I finally got a portion of what I paid for. But still, they can still take that back. We all sign that. So just do our part, report any issues we have, keep our hands on the wheel, have a ton of fun with it because it is amazing. If you're watching this video, please keep in mind these videos take a long time to put together and a lot of effort. And believe it or not, this has been recorded probably 6 times by now that you guys are seeing, trying to make this right. So please do me a favor and leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials and all that happen here. And I'll see you guys on the next video.